Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Daybreak. This is more like we'll call it Daybreak Special because
Hmm.
today we're still in the mood of Christmas, and the Yuletide season generally. And of course, it's been quite an interesting moment for many of us. Well, my name is Ayube there, and we're excited to have you join us this Monday morning, 27th of December 2020.
Good morning, Nigerians. My name is Zainab Bala, and I'm super excited to be here. How was your Christmas celebration, Ayuba?
Yeah, well, it's great. I mean, Christmas is one moment that gives you that opportunity to reunite with friends, with family, have some quality time with, your own immediate family, and all that. So I would say that I've been able to do that to a great extent.
Oh, that's interesting.
Even though I still look forward to traveling out to London, maybe to have some time out there as well.
Still in the season of Christmas, while a lot of us, were celebrating, there was sad news yesterday, talking about the fire at the next Cash and
Yeah,
Carry.
very, very disturbing. I saw some of the videos online, and it's quite disturbing that on a day like that, you would imagine that a business center like Next Cash and Carry will be raking in a lot of money, on that day. And then sadly, this unfortunate thing happened. And, while I was watching the videos, in my mind, I'm like, how did it get this bad? I mean, what happened to the water system? I mean, the fire extinguishers and
You know,
the systems that are in place, for such
according to,
accidents.
I think this was more than just fire and putting the fire out with fire extinguishers, because it was there was so much gas leak and the fire was raging uncontrollably. Even the fire service had to keep putting the fire out over and over again. And, till midnight, they were still struggling to do that.
Yeah,
But
but see, I mean, think about it. How did it get to that point, where you have gas explosions everywhere? How did it get to that point? The fire must have started somewhere.
yes.
And is it now possible also to say, okay, the fire started in a particular place and nobody noticed anything till it got so bad that it cannot be, extinguished by the firefighters?
You might say in Nigeria we have a very bad, attitude to responding to emergencies, and these are one of the cases.
Yeah, well, we'll look, into that much more later, in detail. So we'll watch, a report from there. And then today we'll also be talking about the significance of Christmas. And they will be joined by a clergy in the studio to talk to us, about all of this. Quite a lot, really, to chew this morning. For now, let's take a look at the events of December the 10th, December the 27th in the world history. Take a look.
quite a number of events, that happened in history. Now, yesterday, we all heard of the news that broke out, about the death of the anti-apartheid, genius Desmond Tutu passing away at 90.
Yeah, we'd like to take a report on that, just to take a look at the life and time of Desmond Tutu. I mean, it's someone that history would, I believe, would forever be kind to, in respect to the role that he played in emancipating South Africa, from apartheid. So let's take a look at the life and times of Desmond Tutu.
Archbishop Desmond Mpilo Tutu was born on October 7, 1931 of Xhosa and Tswana parents, and was educated in South African mission schools at which his father taught. Though the late bishop wanted a medical career, Tutu was unable to afford training and instead became a school teacher in 1955. He resigned his post in 1957. He then attended St. Peter's Theological College in Johannesburg and was ordained an Anglican priest in 1961. In 1962, he moved to London, where in 1966 he obtained an MA from King's College, London. From 1972 to 1975, he served as an associate director for the World Council of Churches. He was appointed Dean of St. Mary's Cathedral in Johannesburg in 1975, the first black South African to hold that position. From 1976 to 1978, Tutu served as Bishop of Lesotho. In 1995, South African President Nelson Mandela appointed Tutu head of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which investigated allegations of human rights abuses during the apartheid era. In 1978, Tutu accepted an appointment as the General Secretary of the South African Council of Churches and became a leading spokesperson for the rights of black South Africans. During the 1980s, he played an unrivaled role in drawing national and international attention to the iniquities of apartheid. He emphasized non-violent means of protest and encouraged the application of economic pressure by countries dealing with South Africa. The award of the 1984 Nobel Prize for Peace to Tutu sent a significant message to South African President P.W. Botha's administration. In 1985, at the height of the township rebellions in South Africa, Tutu was installed as Johannesburg's first black Anglican bishop, and in 1986, he was elected the first black Archbishop of Cape Town, thus becoming the primate of South Africa's 1.6 million member Anglican Church. on October 7, 2010, his 79th birthday, he began his retirement. He died on the 26th of December 2021 at the age of 90.
Well, there you have it. That was, about the life and time of Desmond Tutu. Now, this is someone who you would say is a contemporary of the late Nelson Mandela. These were figures that were very prominent when you talk about anti-apartheid in South Africa. They played major role. The non-violent movement and protest that they, championed at the time gave the result that, South Africa recorded when it come to the emancipation of South Africans from the white I would say majority, not majority, but I would say white supremacy, sort of that, that we had in South Africa. So definitely is someone that you want to remember, is someone you want to honor, and South Africa is mourning. From what we know so far, his burial will be, funeral will be conducted on the 1st of January. That's on Sunday, yes, on Sunday. So it's quite a very, very sad moment for South Africa. And we share in that, empathy, looking at the history of Nigeria and South Africa.
And not to forget as well, a lot of people back in South Africa, even, internationally talked about his sense of humor. He was somebody who was really fun to be with. And I remember in an interview, I think on the BBC or Al Jazeera, I think he was asked, what would you like to be remembered with? And then he said he would like to be remembered as somebody who changed the world, as somebody who touched people's lives. And these are the kind of people, would like to see, in
and he changed the world, really. He did change the world. I mean, if you remember, if you know the story of South Africa very well, during the apartheid, I mean, it's a very, very terrible moment where you have discrimination and all of that. And recall that when there was to be that transition, shifting power from the white supremacists to, the blacks in South Africa, there was a whole lot of tension and fear, by mainly the white, the racial group, in South Africa at the time, because they felt, well, if power shifted to the blacks, then there's going to be a real problem. It's possible that we're going to see some kind of vengeance, on us, and that was the thinking. But with people like, Desmond Tutu, they kept on preaching and they kept on, campaigning, for a non-violent kind of transition, for people to be tolerant, for people to, forget about the past and, show love and all of that. And that was really, really instrumental. Also follows in the line of people like Martin Luther King, as well. There's this Indian also, Mahatma Gandhi. These were people that represented hope, they represented love, they represented
humanity, if you say.
Yes, in all that they do. So I would say that Desmond Tutu also follow in that category, and he will be greatly, greatly missed. All right, now let's take a look at another video, this time about the sad incident that happened here in our own soil, on our own soil rather, in Nigeria, talking about the fire that gutted the next cash and carry. We had one of our reporters yesterday did a report on that. Take a look.
This is Next Cash and Carry, one of the biggest supermarkets here in the FCT, and the situation now here is that it's currently raised and burning with fire. The Federal Fire Service are here trying to put the fire out, but it's not working. As you can see, the fire is extending, and these people behind me are trying to break the glass in order to save the remaining of the goods that have not been damaged. There's a lot of pandemonium and chaos between the Federal Fire Service trying to put the fire out and the others trying to save the goods from being further damaged by the fire.
December 26th, the day after Christmas, popularly known as Boxing Day, is usually a joyous day celebrated by Christian faithfuls all over the world. However, the atmosphere at Next Cash and Carry supermarket in the FCT was filled with smoke as a result of a raging inferno that left the building in shambles and its staff and shop owners in dampened spirits.
Why it's paining me is that I gave them my goods of January and February inside December. And it was not being signed. It has not been signed. No man, Nest is a place where Nest does not have product. Nest is just a warehouse where you bring your product, you sell, you give them their percentage. If you sell for them 30,000, they sell 35, they take the 5, give you 30. That is how Nest operates. That is the operation of Nest. But what we normally see every day, we are angry is that what we normally see every day when we come to supply that fire extinguisher machine there, they will be servicing it every blessed day. They will be owning it and be disturbing every day. But today they are nowhere to be found. They are nowhere to be found. My goods that Nest have not signed is over 4.5 million. No sign. I don't even know where I will start from. Where will I start from? I know what my mates are doing, but I don't do. This is where I feel from.
Because you are not lazy.
I'm not lazy.
You know you are not lazy.
I was not happy what happened this morning because it was sad. How can we be calling the federal government, as in the fire service? They have been calling them since 8 o'clock, 8:30. They have been calling them. Nobody is responding. And do you know the worst part of it is that this is where thousands of youth are feeding on. It sounds somehow because we depend on this place. We depend. If this place is shut down like this, tell me somebody like Blessing. I'm a staff in this place. Somebody like Blessing, tell me where I will work. As in tell me how food will come to my table.
In the morning around 8, I was there. I'm coming down, but not able to calm down. I'm angry. In the morning around 8, the fire started at that Christmas tree was burning. I removed my clothes to hold the fire. There was no fire extinguisher. I was not working. The pipe inside, there was no water inside. Me and 15 security, we can't off small lights. We call fire extinguisher. They came almost 2 hours before the fire don't go up. I tell me to calm down. Goods 1.3 something billion burn inside. 1,050 you don't lose your work. I tell me I should calm down.
I was in church service and someone called me that Next was on fire. We rushed down here, but you know how fire is. The whole place was ablaze. We couldn't go in, and they've been trying to put it off since then. So that's where we are now.
As the fire continued to rage on, residents and staff who were the first witnesses of the outbreak are seen moving the goods to safety to prevent more damage, as opposed to claims of looting in videos circulating on social media.
I'm passing by. I see the fire burning. I said, let me rush and help the fellow Nigerians. And when we reach here, the fire service is here. And nobody wants to climb up and check what is happening. Because of that, I find a way to enter on top of the ceiling. And the fire from here enter the side. I call them before they bring the pipe. I quench the fire from that side before I face the main one.
Security personnel in a joint effort worked together to ensure safety and prevent looting.
Gates were cordoned, so there is no how hoodlum can now fly with those things. They were all taken to safety. That is the true situation.
The question people ask me is that they are seeing children, small people in those videos,
Trolling it to safety, yes. They have right to assist. Not that they are taking it to their houses.
So the hoodlum that we arrested, what will happen to them now?
Under investigation.
They are
under investigation.
Yes, but they take away some people. Who are people that they took away? We thought the security operatives take away some people. Who are these people?
That's the one they are referring to. Okay. Those that were attempting to steal from those one kept at safety.
Okay.
Were arrested. But if we discover that they are only trying to assist, we'll let them go.
How many of them, sir?
Three.
Allegations from residents around the area and affected staff say the FCT fire service were late and unequipped to manage the scene. Director General, Federal Capital Territory Emergency Management Agency, Abbas Idris, speaks on the cause of the fire incident.
always the allegations that is coming. Even if they don't have water, how many hydrants do you see within this premises? Did you see any truck going out to fetch water outside? All of them are refilling from the hydrants. All the hydrants are serviceable, are functioning here. So even if you don't come with water, there's water here. That is the end of the story.
As at the time of filing this report, the cause of the fire incident is yet to be ascertained. Nafisa Abdul Al, Trust TV News, Abuja.
That is quite sad indeed. You know, one of the questions that many people are asking is if really Next Cash and Carry is insured, so that this will, you know, provide an avenue for some people, you know, to have some form of compensation.
Total loss will be avoided. Well, it's very important, you know, that this kind of incidences, they further demonstrate the need to have, you know, organizations, or I would say centers like that insured in case of such incidences. So that is very important. Then on the other hand, you know, I started saying earlier on that how did this even happen in the first place? I mean, first, from what you could hear, some of the people that have businesses there complained about the slow response of the fire service officials, you know, coming to that place. So you find that such things, they happen, and then it takes like another 30 minutes, one hour before you get, you know, the firefighters on ground. That's totally unacceptable. This is Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, for crying out loud.
I really...
If this is the experience of many people in the States, then what different is it really for people living in the FCT, where it's the capital? All right, so it breaks my heart when I see such things. So slow response to emergency is a major problem. We don't seem to have woken up from that. And then sometimes even when they show up, you know, with their tankers, it's either not enough, or maybe it's either the water,
there's no water,
there's no enough water to deal with the fire and all of that. That's also not acceptable. And then secondly, before we even get to the issue of the firefighters, the construction in that place, I believe, would have some sort of water system that, you know, extinguishes fire in such instances. What happened to it? What happened to the fire extinguishers that normally you would see? One of them raised the issue that there are usually fire extinguishers, and then you see people coming over from time to time. In fact, he said almost all the time you come, you find them servicing, you know, the fire extinguishers and all of that. What happened to that? You know, you kind of feel like it's like there's a conspiracy somewhere, really, when such things happen.
People have complained times without number, and what you get to hear, you know, from the Nigeria Fire Service is they are doing their best. They always tell you we are on top of it, and we are always responding to it.
Yesterday, I saw quite a number of security officials there. Virtually all of them were there. Police, NCDC, NSCDC, and all of that. Even military personnel. I saw a tanker belonging to the Nigerian Navy as well.
You know, yesterday a reporter that went to do that report, she said something about, you know, Nigeria security operatives at that point, you know, helping, that she has never seen, you know, so much vigor, so much passion to actually help put out the fire, just like it happened yesterday. And also, you know, there was this video going on social media about purported looting and all of that, and which she confirmed, and in the Nigeria police also confirmed that it was actually not looting. It was, you know, the workers of the Next Cash and Carry trying to move, you know, some goods away from the fire, and that really caught my attention.
Yes, that's commendable. I mean, even some volunteers, aside from the staff, I'm sure there were some volunteers also that were there, that, you know, not to loot, you know, but to, you know, move at least some of the goods to safety, to where that, so that it can avoid total destruction. You know, destruction.
A lot of people are anticipating looting because the Nigerians are in the habit of looting.
Of course. I mean, it's always, when you see that kind of a video, the first thing that goes to the minds of people, oh, looters are there in their own game. But good enough, security officials were deployed, in good time, to make sure that looting does not take place. So that's highly, highly commendable. And for the people that turn up, to show some kind of empathy and support those that are having that experience is also quite commendable. But it's really sad that you have these things happening. I mean, we're talking about over 1,000 people who were employed in that next cash and carry. What is going to happen to them? Like some of the persons that have businesses there now, money is running into millions of naira, and some of them young people. Really.
Most of them young people.
So what happens? I hope that there will be some kind of compensation, for them from government in some way, because it shouldn't go. I mean, someone has been working, and it's not like he got the job from anywhere.
I saw one of them there. He just supplied attachments for, I think, 8 million. He just recently supplied attachments for 8 million, and he has not already been paid. And then this just happened.
And I heard him say something about not yet, the supply not yet being formally received.
My goodness.
And all of that by signing the documents that needed to be signed and all of that. It's really, really a nightmare for some of them. I cannot imagine what this means, for them. But can we just do something about this? I mean, let them have some compensation, and then, I mean, if possible, forestall future occurrences like this, by taking the necessary steps. I mean, we shouldn't be talking about this in this century and at a time like this. What happened to the fire extinguishers? I think an investigation needs to be done, on this, and then let's know what exactly happened. I mean, the other time back in July, it was the Ebano supermarket somewhere in Local Goma, and now we are having this. Yes. I think that something just needs to be done. I mean, there should be some kind of steps that will be taken to forestall such things, from happening. Well, let's go on a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll be taking a look at some more on the program. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that they look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
All right, welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television. Now, let's take a look at some of the stories on our dailies this morning. We'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. The lead story there, road crashes kill 14,773 Nigerians in 3 years. Now, the riders, 91,483 injured in 31,116 accidents. That's quite a large number there. Ogun tops with 1,026 road crashes in 2021. Bielsa Roads safest with 40 incidents. You'd also see why crashes occur. That's according to the Federal Road Safety Corps. And you'll see a picture there showing the next cash and carry in flames, and also, the aftermath of that inferno. You'd also see tears as fire destroyed Abuja's next supermarket. On page 18 of the Daily Trust newspaper, federal government to shut down money lending businesses over violations. And on page 4, Nigeria records 21 coronavirus deaths in 24 hours. And on page 7, tributes as Desmond Tutu, South Africa's anti-apartheid hero, dies at 90. Right on page 7 on the Daily Trust newspaper, police arrest Okorocha's son-in-law inside Imo Church. You'd also see villagers rescued as hunters ambush bandits in Kaduna. Electoral bill. Lamido backs Buhari, says mode of primaries parties prerogative. These are some of the stories on the Daily Trust newspaper.
I could see some very interesting stories there. I mean, the one about villagers, being rescued as hunters you know, ambush bandits in Kaduna. I mean, that's some heroic kind of a story, and I think that that's commendable. I mean, if security officials, you know, are, I would say, well, they are doing their best, but we need such efforts to complement, you know, whatever.
Yesterday there was a report from Zamfara State where elder statesmen were actually advocating for more community-based approach. Just like we're seeing the vigilantes actually doing more within these communities to help tackle
we
the
recall
whole
that
security
in
situation.
the northeast, for instance, in Borno State, some of the successes that were achieved were greatly achieved, you know, because of the contributions of the civilian JTF in the state. They know the terrain, and they even know some of these, you know, bandits and criminals and Boko Haram fighters and all of that. So I think that we should see more of such engagements. You know, communities should rise and defend themselves. I mean, not that, you know, these bandits will just come do their whatever they want to do and leave, and you know, everyone. We have hunters. I mean, for what happened to the ancient practices? For well, at the risk of advocating for, you know, some of these Asian practices, but we cannot just throw everything in totality. We know that by history, culturally, Africans are known to be resilient people who can actually defend themselves in the face of danger. So we need some of these efforts to complement, you know, what our security agents are doing. Now, very interesting stories also I see about the road crashes. Well, quite sad, you know, we're having this high number of road crashes, you know, in 3 years, about 14,000 Nigerians being killed. Well, I hope that Nigerians will be disciplined on the road. You know, that's one thing that I think could be responsible for this. It's the way some drivers behave on the roads.
And you know, I'm really particular about this because you get to see these high numbers during the Yuletide. Is it that they overspeed on the roads or they're in a hurry, you know, to arrive at their destinations? I really do not understand the irony.
I can say that by virtue of observation over time, one thing that happens during festive periods is if it's not you who is high, then it's gonna be probably the next person driving beside you or the person, you know. So when you're driving during festive period, extra caution is very important. Don't be so assuming. You know, you could be doing very well. I mean, in terms of you are okay, you are not drunk, you are not, you know, you are observing all the rules and all of that. But the next person to you may not be doing so. Maybe the person is, you know, coming from some party or just had some fun, you know, and then in the process got drunk.
We really need to change that attitude, really, because we're endangering ourselves. Just yesterday, I saw, you know, a report about, I think it was a tanker accident, and a lot of people died there, and it was really tragic. And it was just a day, you know, after Christmas and all of that. It's really sad. And sometimes
just a little patience. If Nigerians can just exercise some little patience on the road, because sometimes the way some people drive is like,
even within the cities.
Just within the city, I'm telling you, you know, it's so crazy. Caution and patience, very important. Well, very interesting stories. Let's take a look at other stories now on our papers. COVID-19, I'm seeing that that story is also there somewhere on our front page. About 21 people are said to have died within 24 hours from COVID-19, and not to mention the recent spike that we've seen in the number of positive cases of COVID-19, just to show that COVID is still with us, and people.
And I think we need to change our approach, you know, to the response, since we're already having, you know, quite a number of deaths. We've not had this when the pandemic broke out, and it's really sad that we're having this at this time, maybe because of the Omicron variant.
Yes, very true. All right, let's take a look at other papers now on the dailies. The Punch newspaper leads with the story: states revive isolation centers. COVID-19 cases soar, vaccination grounded at 3.9%. You would also see the riders there saying Ogun has 260 bed spaces 537 bed spaces unoccupied in Lagos. Infections hit 236,000 as military police fail to enforce vaccination. And we are also seeing, I don't know what happens to the safety protocols, in terms of enforcement and implementation. People are just going about their normal businesses without recourse.
We're moving on with our lives, so it seems.
Yeah. Other stories there says, like the one at the very top on the Punch newspaper says, 38,518 aggrieved pension contributors change PFAs, transfer 148.11 billion naira. That's on page 24. The next story there says 556 billion naira crude oil lost to vandalism, others in 3 months. That's the NNPC report there. Buhari, Osinbajo, Ramaphosa, Buhari Obasanjo rather, Ramaphosa, mourn as anti-apartheid icon Tutu dies at 90. Also, the next story there, review forex ban on 40 items to save Naira, economists tell the central bank. And then the picture there, the pictorial on the Punch newspaper shows you the Christmas mood in other parts of the country, particularly in Lagos, Ikeja, where you see children, in the usual practice, go to fun centers, to have some time out with their families. Beside that, you would also see the stories of Korocha, Lambast Uzodima, IG, a son-in-law arrested in church. That's on page 13. Oyo plans IPP to power government house, hospitals, stadium, street lights. And that's on page 22. And then Amotekun hunts ritualist as Oshun sex worker vomits blood after proposed threesome.
My goodness, that's quite a story.
That's very sad, really. Well, let's take a look at other stories on the other papers.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the stories on the Nation newspaper. The lead story on the Nation newspaper, Constitution Review. Senate forecloses state creation. The riders, election matters to end at appeal court. Governors to exercise control over police. And 70 years retirement age for all judges. And you see a pictorial there of Desmond Tutu, who died yesterday at 90. Buhari, Obasanjo, Obama, others mourn Tutu. World leaders commiserate with Ramaphosa and South Africans. You'd also see on page 29 of the Nation newspaper, Okorocha, Imo government clash over Nwosu's arrest. And on page 5 of the Nation newspaper, 32 billion naira debt. Local contractors accuse Ministry of non-payment. You'd also see federal government to induct doctors, Sean strikes. Odubu wins Gouda Ultimate Search Season 12. And you'd also find scramble for Nigerian shares by foreign investors heightens. These are some of the lead stories on the Nation newspaper this morning.
All right, then let's take a look at other papers today. And on the Guardian newspaper this morning, we have the lead story talks about Gulf widens as Nigeria spends 19 trillion naira on Chinese goods in 4 to 5 months. The writers there says Nigeria's imports from Asian giant expanded 183 times in 27 years. Regional leaders explore fresh Euro-Asian ties as AFCFTA struggles. Outward-oriented trade threatens intra-African agenda. Whatever happened to the AFCFTA agreement? Really this was supposed to take effect from January 1st of 2020. And now we are talking about, January 2021, rather. January 2021. And now we are talking about 2022, but we are yet to see the full impact of that AFCFTA. Is it too early to decide? I mean, to judge, but I don't think it's too early, looking at the fact that we have visited some of these border communities. I, for one, for instance, I was in Nigeria's semi-border, and I recall that there was an instruction, or I would say a directive by the president to reopen 4 borders. I recall the land borders, to be specific, sometimes back in 2018. But I've not seen that those places are reopened. Like my last visit at the semi-border, and that's about 2 months ago or so. The borders were still closed. I mean, you will not see, movement, whatever the reason that is. So we are not sure. But the thing is, we haven't seen the takeoff, like in terms of implementation of that AFCFTA. But that's also something that's very important for Africa's growth and development. A lot of people have praised the whole idea, but I don't know what's causing the delay and the drag. Another story on the Guardian newspaper there talks about Ramaphosa, Buhari, Obasanjo, Jonathan mourn as Desmond Tutu dies at 90. You would see also NAFDAC warns against use of sex enhancement drugs. Yeah,
we need
that's a practice that I know some people are holding there, but here is a professional advisory.
A lot of people actually.
All right, another one says security agents battle looters as fire destroys Abuja supermarket. Police whisk Uche Nwosu away from church premises. The pictorial there, it's something that is very interesting. Some members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria are presenting a drawing of Jesus to the General Overseer, Christ Evangelical and Life Intervention Ministry, Pastor Yakubu Buru, during Christmas Day service at Christ Evangelical and Life Intervention Ministry, where about 525 Muslims attended the church as part of efforts to strengthen Christian-Muslim relationship and religious tolerance at Sabon Tasha in Kaduna.
These are, the kind of pictorials we want to see. These are the kind of moods we want to see. And it shows a form of unity. And, despite the fact that Nigeria, is a diverse nation, and we have the Christians and the Muslims, this also becomes like a sort of barrier, which is, which is the reason for one of the problems, we're having currently in the country. And this is really heart-warming.
Quite symbolic, really. I think that we need to see more of this kind of show of love, or gesture, of love and all of that, in the relationship is quite symbolic. And I hope that the generality of Nigerians begin to see themselves first as human beings before any other thing. Right. I mean, before being a Muslim or before being a Christian, you are first human. So, and as human beings, there are things that we share, that we need to emphasize more on those things, rather than our religious affiliation or our ethnic, affiliation. Unity is the key. Unity is the only thing that builds nations. That, Nigeria with its diversity, a lot of people have said, yes, there's a lot of diversity in Nigeria if you look at the cultural and religious, and heterogeneous nature, of the country. But again, this same diversity can be turned into, strength, for Nigerians as a whole. So we are better together than divided.
In the same vein, there's a report, from Kano that our correspondent actually packaged. It's about indigenous Christians in Kano. Take a look.
Kano State is widely regarded as the Nigeria Center for Islamic Learning and Scholarship, which is why some believes that the Hausa Christian communities are either marginalized or may have been living in fear of Muslim counterpart across their respective villages and towns of the states. To find some answers, I have left Kano metropolis to visit a village just about 40 kilometers away from the city to meet these people who are mainly Hausa-speaking people, but they are Christians, to find out how they are celebrating their Christmas in this part of Kano State. Rifawa is a community in Bunkure local government area of Kano State, which has a significant number of indigenous Hausa-speaking Christian population. Our relationship with our Christian counterpart is very cordial. In fact, if you come to this community, unless maybe if it is time for prayer, you can hardly distinguish who is a Christian, who is a Muslim, and we share a lot. And this relationship has existed for generations, and we have been living like this without any crisis. Like their counterpart around the world, they turned out en masse to celebrate the birth of their Lord Jesus Christ.
This within the Rifawa, under the Bunkure local government Kano State. This area, since I arrived, being as the pastor of this area, there is not any problem between we and the Muslim, the Haram area. And they used to come our house if anything mistakenly, or somebody who lost somebody, or somebody give that, they used to come to our houses, we sit down together. If something happened to them too, we used to go to their houses and sit down together being as a family.
Inside this Baptist church of Rifawa village, men, women, children and the elderly sings and praises the Lord as they prayed for Nigeria's peaceful coexistence and continued interpersonal and community relations with their Hausa Muslims counterpart. You see, if you check around this church, you will see our ward head, and he is a Muslim. And every year, he's been coming here to sit down from the beginning of our service up to the end. And we never have a problem with anyone. We used to share a lot of things together. Therefore, we don't have that problem like what people are saying. We don't have any problem here. Historically, these people are known as Maguzawa, a subcategory of the Hausa people, mostly found in the rural areas of Kano and other parts of northern Nigeria. Referenced in the Kano Chronicle, Maguzawa have existed since the earliest days of Kano and are known to be the original stock of the Hausa people, who were the first settlers and rulers of what is now known as Kano kingdoms. Indeed, today is a very special day for us, we Christians. We are very, very happy that we have come to see this day, and we are very, very happy that we have accepted Jesus Christ, our Lord, our Savior. And we are very happy that we are alive to witness this very, very important day in our life. As they joined their counterpart across the world to mark this year's Christmas celebration, they reaffirmed their continued tolerance and understanding with their Muslim brothers and sisters across Kano State. Actually, from my childhood to date, I've been a Christian all my life, and I've been living with my Muslim brothers and sisters, and there is no single Christmas that we said we have problem with our Muslim brothers. We've been living in peace, and that is how it has been for generations and generations. And we used to share a lot of things. They used to bring food for us. We used to take food for them, especially during Salah, and likewise us during Christmas. Christmas is a period of thanksgiving, caring and sharing, not only among the Christian faithfuls, but extended to even Muslim communities. And that is the message from these Hausa-speaking Christians of Kano State. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Another quite very, very interesting one. The pastor there was saying they live in peace here with the Muslims around the community. They do not have a problem. They attend weddings, and they're also celebrating, Christmas together. And this is really what we want to see.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing as important as having, a united people. Like I said earlier, it's time we begin to emphasize the things that commonize us, the things that you know, that we share in common, the similarities that we have, you know, rather than our differences. I mean, we have heard about stories of how, you know, in the past you'd find Christians protecting Muslims as they go to pray, and the Muslims protecting Christians as they go to pray as well. So it's something that we need to see more of it. You know, another period or moment that also demonstrated was that was during the EndSARS, during the EndSARS protest. You know, for whatever criticism that you want to criticize the EndSARS protest,
they were quite positive.
For once,
that came out of
I
that.
saw an organized movement in Nigeria, an organized protest. I mean, a lot of people talked about how, you know, these EndSARS protesters made provision for their own security. You know, aside the police that were there, there were, you know, security dogs that were deployed. You know, they made provision for health emergencies. So you'd find ambulances, you know, in the protest. And guess what? There are some group of people that were dedicated for cleaning the mess.
Exactly.
Wherever they
I
go
wanted to point that out.
I mean, have we ever had a protest as organized as that?
No.
I mean, you can talk about the hoodlums, you know, who came to hijack the whole process later, you know, and all of that. But for days, that protest went on organized.
You know, when I saw, you know, a clip where the Muslims, you know, were praying and the Christians, you know, barricaded the whole place, and also similar case for the Christians. When I saw that video, it gave me chills. I had goosebumps, you know, on my skin, and it really sent a different signal and a different message to me, you know, and other Nigerians, that this is what we really stand for. Our humanity, despite all odds, is what we should be yearning for, despite, you know, all of the challenges we're facing.
I mean, it's time to bring down the walls. I mean, these walls of, you know, division that, you know, that says, hey, you are this, you are that, and all of that.
He's evil.
We need to bring down those walls, because trust me, in Nigeria, if those walls can be broken, Nigeria will be the better for it. You would see a lot of changes that was going to happen here in their country. And let's now take, well, there's also this video that I do not want to finish this segment without talking about it. On social media that went viral. Our crew is trying to put up that video, you know, for you to watch. But something that, you know, I saw over the weekend was these videos of security and police officers in particular sharing gifts, you know, to commuters on the road.
You know, many would not anticipate that coming from the Nigerian police.
About 2 or 3 of those videos by different persons, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay. So this could actually happen this time around. Is not the police officer demanding and forcing commuters to you know, give some handouts and all of that, but it's the other way around. You know, willingly you see police officers giving commuters. In fact, one was sharing bags of rice.
That's huge.
Yes, and at that moment I felt like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should be in that place right now. Maybe I could have some bag of rice myself. You know, but I think that that's quite commendable. We should be seeing such videos, you know, circulating on social media. And whoever is behind that, well, I think we commend that person. That,
and we like to encourage, you know, other security operatives to do same.
I mean, as a security official, first know that your duty is to protect the civilian, the ordinary civilian, and not to, you know, bully or to I would say oppress, you know, people, but to protect people. That's the mandate, you know, given. And so when we see people doing the opposite, you know, of what they are meant to do, sometimes it is heartbreaking. And that's what brings about the bad energy, you know, the negative attitude that you see some Nigerians have towards security officials. And in any case, think about it. Some of these security officials are our own brothers. They are our sisters, they are our parents, they are uncles and aunties and all of that. And so, I mean, why not? I mean, one good, you know, deserves another. You do one good here, you just maybe getting it later, you know, in return. So I think that it's very important that we begin to see that human face, you know, of our security officials, and sharing gifts in this period is something that demonstrates more of that, and we should be seeing more of that. Let's take a quick break now, and then when we come back, the show will continue. Please stay with us.
The board and management of Media Trust Limited invites the general public to its annual Daily Trust Dialogue, themed 2023, The Politics, Economy and Insecurity. Date, 20th January 2022. Location, NAF Conference Center and Suites, Abuja. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Chairman of the occasion, former Head of State, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, GCFR. Guest Speaker, Governor of Kaduna State, Malan Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai. Guest Speaker, Governor of Ebonyi State, Engineer David Umahi. Guest Speaker, former Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mrs. Ifueko Omoigui Okauru. Moderator, Executive Director, Daria Media Nigeria Limited, Kadaria Ahmed. The event will be transmitted live on Trust TV, and all participants must observe COVID-19 protocols and wear their face masks.
Well then, thank you so much for staying. You're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. And here now we're going into the next discussion on the program and talking about the essence of Christmas. Now, Christmas is the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, a time for Christian faithfuls all over the world to understand the lessons from Jesus and reflect on them. Now, we'll be looking at the significance, and we have in the studio Senior Pastor, Prime Life Royal Ministries, Pastor David Oforum, in the studio to give us perspectives on this. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning. And
Welcome
thank you
to
for
the
having
program.
me. Thank you.
Yeah, well, so maybe in the spirit of Christmas, just before you came, we saw some very interesting, stories. One about, Christians and Muslims, sharing love, during the season. And the other about, our own security officials also sharing gifts and all of that. So quickly, we'd like you to, we'll take a look at that video and then we'd like you to give a comment on that. So let's take a look.
Merry Christmas. So I have a package for you. What's there? Lemon. Take for Lemon.
Well, there you have it. Very, very interesting scene there, and very, very, I would say, noteworthy. Of that. So let's quickly get your comment, on this.
Okay, let me begin by saying, even though Christmas is past, but I don't think it's still out of place to say Merry Christmas, and I hope your Christmas was merry, like those guys in the keke, because I mean that's nothing would have made my Christmas, more remarkable if I was stopped by a policeman, handing over, whatever, even if it was a pen, saying Merry Christmas. And I think that's very, very, very commendable. It's something that the Nigerian police should adopt as, as part of their corporate social responsibility, community relations, and all of that. I wouldn't know, but I suspect, they might have been inspired by a similar video that made the rounds earlier about a week or two ago about some white policemen going, stopping people on the streets and giving them $100 and saying Merry Christmas. This is from the Department of Police. I don't know if that was their inspiration, but wherever the inspiration came from,
exactly.
This is a big thumbs up.
Love to have $100.
Big thumbs up to the Nigeria police.
Yes, I mean, it's a good thing that we are being inspired, wherever it's coming from. The most important thing is the fact that, okay, you see something that is good enough and you feel like, okay, let's emulate that. So that's very important. Then we also have this, over the period of the Christmas celebration, one of our reporters went to one of the indigenous communities in Kano, and we also, saw some stories about, Christians and Muslims, celebrating Christmas with their, fellow Christian, counterparts or friends or whatever you want to call it. So let's get your thoughts, on that.
Well, I really think that's, the kind of narrative we should play up a whole lot, not just, during Christmas, but at every time. Christmas is about love. It's about sharing. It's about caring. It's about humanity. And humanity does not know religion. Humanity does not know, tribal or racial or color differences. Christianity, And in particular, Christmas is a celebration of the love of God that he demonstrated by sending his son, Jesus Christ, to the world. He didn't send Christ to Christians. He sent Christ to the world. It is those who now believe in Christ that are called Christians. So that love, primarily, God demonstrated it to the world, to every human being. And if you call yourself a Christian, you should also demonstrate that love to everyone across board. And when you share love, love has a way of coming back to you. You know, if you show love to people, they will show love, you know, in return. And it's a very, you know, nice thing that we saw the Muslim community going, you know, to the Christians to celebrate Christmas with them. I think Nigeria needs that kind of, you know, narrative a whole lot, because we've been so polarized, especially in recent times. Christians, you know, against Muslims, Muslims against Christians. I mean, those are the two major religions. There are others, but those are the two dominant religions in Nigeria. But hey, God knew there would be Christians and Muslims when he placed us in the same nation, in the same country. The Bible says something that God determines the boundaries of nations. So God knew that there will be Christians and Muslims within this boundary, the border of the geographical expression called Nigeria. And he expects us to cohabit, you know, in love. Everybody might not be a Christian, everybody might not be a Muslim, in as much as you can, you know, you still have to do your evangelization, hope to win others. But you must understand at the back of your mind that not everybody will share your faith. So do I now hate someone because he or she refuses to share my faith? He's a human being, first of all, as I am. I should be able to relate with my fellow human being because he's a human. Whatever he believes in. In fact, one of the easiest ways to even win someone over to believe in what you believe is to show him love.
Right. Okay. Now, we all know the importance, you know, of religious cohabitation. And we've seen religious crises happen here and there within the countries, just like the one we're seeing in Jos and Kaduna and other, you know, parts of the country. How important, you know, is religious cohabitation in ending all of this religious crisis that we see?
Very, very important. Because if the roots is religious intolerance, then we must go back to the roots to solve the crisis. I would not be too optimistic to say that we would end all the crisis in one day, because it didn't start in one day. Right. It is something that built up over time with religious intolerance. So we must start while the military is doing all the, you know, kinetic and other approaches. The non-kinetic, which goes beyond the military, religious bodies, traditional institutions, community organizations must begin to find ways to re-entrench religious tolerance. Like what we saw in that video. Christians too, there's nothing wrong, and I would expect that we reciprocate. When the Muslims are having their, you know, celebration, go felicitate with them, celebrate with them. It doesn't mean that because you have entered a mosque, you are now automatically a Muslim, or because as a Muslim you enter a church, you are now automatically a Christian. As a matter of fact, going to church is not even what makes you a Christian. Answering a Christian name is not what makes you a Christian. Answering a name that is found in the Bible is not what makes you a Christian. What actually makes you a Christian is that you are like Christ.
In fact, on that note, I want to also raise the issue of, you know, a lot of people have said, look, one of the problems of Nigeria is religion. Nigeria is over-religious. We are one of the most religious countries in the world.
True.
And a lot of people feel that Nigeria does not represent, does not necessarily portray, you know, the virtues that it claims to believe in. You know, the virtues of love, the virtues of justice and fairness, you know, and all of that. And they feel that it's part of the reasons why Nigeria is where it is today. You know, if you talk about, you know, corruption in Nigeria and all of that. So in terms of reflecting, you know, the virtues of our faith, you know, how important is that, you know, particularly not just in this season, but as we continue to live as, you know, Christians, you know, and Muslims in Nigeria towards national growth?
It is actually very fundamental, because your values and the virtues you espouse tell me who you are. It's not about what you profess. It's about the life you live. I still make, you know, reference to, you know, what makes someone a Christian. Christians were first called Christians in Antioch by people who were not even Christians. Why? Because they observed them, they saw their lives, they saw their values, they saw the virtues they espoused, and they said, no, these ones, they have similar values with Christ. They are like Christ. That's what the word Christian means. So whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, the values and the virtues that your faith, you know, professes, that your faith teaches, should be embedded in your lifestyle. People should be able to see that love. I speak, you know, make more emphasis, you know, on Christianity because I'm a Christian and I'm a pastor. You know, love, the fruit. The Bible talks about the fruits of the Holy Spirit, which every Christian is supposed to possess. The number one is love. The next is joy. The next is peace. The next is patience. Then there's kindness, there's goodness, there's faithfulness, there is gentleness, and there is self-control. These 9 virtues, everyone who calls himself a true Christian, a true child of God, must espouse and must demonstrate these values as contained in Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. That these are the things that people should see about you before you even open your mouth and say, I'm a Christian. They should see these things in you. Same if you are a Muslim. I know that Islam, you know, preaches peace. Islam preaches love. These things should be demonstrated in our lives, in our attitude, especially towards, you know, those outside, those who are not from the same faith. If we and of course there are, you know, some cross-cutting areas of these virtues, you know, that you begin to wonder, if a religion preaches love and peace and yours preaches love and peace, then why are we quarreling?
Exactly.
Why are we fighting?
Why? I mean, if these are the virtues that the faith that we, you know, all possess. If the majority of Nigerians are both Christians and Muslims, right? How come then that we deal with the kind of issues that we deal with? I mean, when the faith that we profess, you know, teaches values, you know, that emphasizes humanity, that emphasizes love and kindness towards, you know, human beings, you know, fellow human beings. How come? Where is the missing link?
I think, you know, there are some sentiments, you know, that have served as undertone to fuel, you know, some of these things. Tribal sentiments, ethnic sentiments, some bit of politics, you know, wanting to play one part against the other to the advantage of somebody who is, you know, holding the remote control, you know, as it were. Because I grew up in the East. I didn't grow up, you know, in the North. But having lived in the North, you know, for so long, I've heard a lot of stories, you know, people who are from mixed families. You know, Christian, some Christians, some Muslims, and they never fought, they never quarreled. But the moment you begin to, you know, it's time for election, for instance, all of a sudden the brother will remember that he is a Christian. The other one will remember that I'm a Muslim, I must vote a Muslim. This one say I'm a Christian, I must vote a Christian. At the end of the day, what exactly does Nigeria need? You know, it simply comes, you know, down to selfish interest. somebody somewhere is benefiting from our fighting each other. Either it's benefiting politically, or it's even benefiting, you know, it might even just be psychologically, the ego that, yes, I'm dominating. I have some form of psychological control over people. I can tell, you know, people, you know, go and, you know, attack these people, and they do, you know, someone is benefiting. And hey, you are not the one. You who is fighting, you are not the one benefiting.
Ironically, really, because if you ask the question, where has that landed Nigeria? You know,
in serious
of
mess,
today, you know, all of these sentiments that we, you know, do protest. Anyways, let's go on a quick break now, and then we'll take a look at a package report from Zamfara State, how Christmas was celebrated there, you know, amidst the whole insecurity, you know, in the country and all of that. And when we come back, discussions will continue on the program. Please stay with us.
The messages in the various churches visited is on the need for Nigerians to imbibe the attitude of forgiveness, love, and tolerance, which are some of the ways the country can overcome its current security challenges. Bishop John Dambita of the Anglican Church, Gusau, said the current economic and security challenges Nigeria is facing is because people have hardened their hearts and allowed Satan to control human affairs. If all humans could turn to God, these challenges can be surmounted.
The Bible says, unto us a child is born, a son is given, and the government of the whole world will be under his shoulder. So I want to believe that by the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ, all people should know that the Prince of Peace has come. If we embrace him, we accept him as our Lord and personal Savior, there will be peace. The reason why all these things are happening, because people hardened their hearts. They decided not to accept the Lord. They decided not to repent. So the devil is leading.
Pastor Yusuf Audu of Evangelical Church Winning All, Ekwa Gusau, admonished Christians to emulate the exemplary conduct of Jesus Christ by living in peace with their neighbor, irrespective of their religion or ethnic affiliations.
I will want Christians to actually celebrate in joy, because it's a memorable day for all Christians, just like you have mentioned. It is being celebrated all over the world. Despite the threat, I know in the time past, such things like this have been happening to Christians, but that does not stop them from actually rejoicing and giving thanks to God over what is happening.
The people come to the church and they know nothing for us, but we leave everything for God to fight for us. We don't care for anything, because Jesus for us.
And today we are celebrating, and all Christians in the whole world, and the four corners of the world are worshiping today, and we are celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ today. And to me, it's a day of joy, a day of giving, loving, caring to all our sisters, neighbors, and our brothers and sisters.
Despite threats by suspected bandits to shut down churches for 3 years in the state, Christmas celebration in Zamfara is peaceful.
Well, there you have it, celebrating Christmas in a tight security environment, and that's the case of Zamfara State. I mean, sadly, Zamfara used to be one of the most peaceful states.
Because it's quite small. It's a very small state, and there was not much security problems coming from that area. But it's sad, in recent times, there's so much stories about insecurity coming from there.
Yeah, no. So talking about insecurity, you know, and the Yuletide season again, you know, what should Nigerians, you know, should be looking out for, you know, in these times? You know, these are dangerous times. We cannot, I mean, one cannot just go about celebrating, forgetting the fact that, look, these are difficult times when it comes to, you know, security and all of that. So what should be the attitude, you know, in terms of celebrating responsibly?
Yeah, celebrate with your eyes open. Celebrate, you know, with alertness. Look out, you know, for what's happening in your environment. Don't get carried away, by festivities that you don't take necessary, precautions. I mean, if you're going to drive, for instance, make sure before you leave your house, your car is in order, so you don't go, out with a faulty vehicle, and maybe it breaks down or causes an accident on the way, and then we blame some demons, like we love to do.
You're in the attitude
in
of doing that.
especially in Nigeria, nobody is responsible for anything. It's either God or the devil, never us.
Or the village people.
Or the village people, but never us. So don't do anything that will give the village people, in quotes, the opportunity to get at you. Protect yourself. Watch, your children. Make sure you take necessary precautions if you are going out. Be on the lookout, and if you notice any, suspicious, movement or object around, quickly alert the nearest security operative, in your interest and in the interest of everyone else around.
Now, you earlier mentioned, politicians taking advantage of Nigerians because of our religious vulnerability, and you get to see this over and over again. Is it that the problem is with our own attitude, as individuals, to buy into these kind of initiative, or what really is the problem?
I think, and this is my own opinion, it might require some research, but I think that poverty, is a strong contributory factor to this thing, because nobody who is comfortable will allow himself to be, induced to go and fight someone. Because when they incite these things, there are some kind of pecuniary benefits attached to it. Okay, you go burn down that mosque, or you go attack that church, you get so and so in return. But if someone is comfortable, if someone is, financially secure, can take care of his needs, and has bright prospects and future ahead of him, he would think of the dangers that he's going to put himself and his future to by going to fight and going to pick up a quarrel. What if I get killed in the process myself? Who's going to look for trouble? What if I get killed? What happens to my family and all that? But when someone knows that even with me, my family is not doing well, so
let me just
just
like suicide bombing.
Yes, and I think a lot of politicians for too long have made use of poverty as a tool for manipulating Nigerians, and that's why everybody collectively, Christians, Muslims, we need to rise up. And this is about Christmas, but 2023 is coming, around the corner, and I don't think it would be out of place to use this opportunity to also call on Nigerians. Shine your eyes, like we say, shine your eyes. They'll be coming at you. They'll be asking you, to go attack that other opponent, do this. And their children
be sending all sorts of messages online, on social media.
Yes, they will say, this one is a Christian, he wants to Islamize, he wants to Christianize. And I'm not saying that there might not be, such, agenda or tendencies, but hey, Nigeria is a country of over 200 million people. When Buhari was contesting, and I wouldn't, want to go into whether I voted for him or not, but when he was contesting, there were a lot of, in 2015, a lot of, messages going on. He's going to Islamize Nigeria and all that. Oh, that's not
propaganda.
Yes, and I told those, that I could reach. I said, what we should be concerned about are his antecedents. What has he done? Does he have the capacity to lead Nigeria or not? As for Islamization, I say he cannot Islamize Nigeria. Even if he has, such, ideologies, even if he did have such ideologies, I don't know. If he couldn't do it as a military leader,
it can't be done.
It can't be done under a democracy.
All right. Well, how important is the role of politicians in changing the narrative? for us, as Nigerians, because a lot of people have said that, look, part of the reasons why we have the high level of insecurity that we have today in the country is because government and politicians have failed to address the root causes of security situations in our country. Talking about unemployment, poverty, like you mentioned, and some other vices, so I would say variables in our society. So how important is addressing all those issues, and particularly to politicians, in terms of making the lives of Nigerians much more better, so that the factors fueling this insecurity are dealt with, at their root?
You see, like I said earlier, if someone's socio-economic comfort is guaranteed, then he can dream, of a better future. If Nigerians are comfortable, if we address, our minds to what we are going to do, assuming, we are politicians, we address our minds to what we're going to do to improve the lot of Nigerians, rather than why they shouldn't vote the other person, they're playing up religious and tribal sentiments. What are you bringing to the table? What is your program? What are you going to do in the next 3 years, 4 years to make sure that the average Nigerian is brought out of poverty? And I'm not just talking of the big, lofty things we hear every day. We're going to bring so and so million people out of, poverty, and then the time is running out and you don't see things and all of that. I'm talking of real practical things. And Nigerians should also look out for antecedents. Someone is coming to tell you, I'm going to bring you, if you vote me, I'm going to bring you out of poverty, when he didn't have power. He has not done anything that shows that if I have power, I can do more. You don't be gullible.
Right.
If someone, there's a saying that if someone has bought a slippers, then it's a promise that he can buy a shoe. So if someone has not, given you slippers, someone has not contributed to the improvement and development of his community significantly, and then he's going to tell you, just give me power and you see what I can do.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense.
Just when people were celebrating Christmas on the 25th of December, I met somebody who told me she doesn't celebrate Christmas. And she gave some reasons. She also said people think they do not believe in Christ, but they actually do. She said she is a Jehovah's Witness. So could you talk to us, about this sect, of people that actually do not celebrate Christmas on the 25th?
Okay, it's not only the Jehovah's Witness. There are a couple of others, who don't celebrate Christmas on the 25th. Understandably, because the argument is that, Jesus was not born on December the 25th, so why celebrate it on December 25th? And there's also this argument that, the origin of celebrating Christmas on December 25th is, it has some pagan origin in the sense that in ancient Rome, there used to be, a pagan festival, at that time. But when Christians took over, the leadership of Rome, they decided to, convert that day into the day when people celebrate the birth of Christ, as a way of discouraging them from celebrating, doing their pagan festivals and all that. So they hold on firm. Some people say, Jesus was born sometime around August. Some say it was born sometime around October. But for me, what is most important is that Jesus was born. The fact that he was born, the date is not as important as the fact that he was born and the purpose for which he was born, which is to save humanity. There are a lot of people who don't know their birthdays. not in this generation.
The older
definitely.
generation.
The older generation.
Right.
Some people, they didn't know their birthday. The mom just told them, yeah, it was around this time, you know, I was around rainy season when we started planting, and they just adopt a day. And it became official.
Right.
It entered their record. So would you say because you don't know the exact day, then you will not celebrate your birthday again? So for me, the important thing is that Jesus Christ, he came, God sent him for me, to die for me. And he was born on Christmas Day, whether the original Christmas Day was on 25th or of December, or in January or June or whenever, he was born, and I'm glad he was.
Well, let's find our concluding thoughts now as we round up the show. What would be your, I would say, call to Christians, in this season as they go on, celebrating, the Yuletide season?
Well, don't get carried away. That's the most important thing. Remember, you're a Christian, and there's something that makes you a Christian. That is that you are like Christ. A lot of people bring in a lot of things, into Christmas celebration that even Christians who should know better, they get carried away, doing things that are unchristian in the name of celebrating Christ, things that are not like Christ, things that Christ wouldn't do, things that Christ wouldn't,
advocate for,
support, things that Christ even preached against, all in the name of, we're celebrating Christmas. Don't get carried away. Remember who you are. Be the Christ that somebody else will see.
Well, thank you so much for ending on that note. We'll thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to having you on the program another time.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome.
All right. We've been speaking with the senior pastor, Prime Life Royal Ministries, Pastor David Ofurum, here in the studio, giving us perspectives on the essence of Christmas here and now. All right, now we'll take a look at another video that went viral on social media. This time around, what are our ministers talking about Rotimi Amechi? Singing. I would say it seems like another release of a song, by him. We saw a similar video that went viral some months ago, and now we are singing another one. Take a look.
How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of hosts. My soul is longing and yearning for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh cry out to the living God. Blessed are they who dwell in your house, who dwell in your house, O Lord. Blessed are they who dwell in your house, who dwell in your house, O Lord.
Christmas, a significant day to Christians all over the world, set aside to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Many also see the day as an opportunity to express love to family, neighbors and friends as taught in the Holy Bible. This was the sermon of Pastor Azaki Nash, the senior pastor at the Aqua Church in Wuse, Abuja.
The lesson for the season is expression of love. We have experienced the love of God embodied in the birth of Christ, and we are required to extend or radiate this love we have experienced from God onto others.
For Reverend Tom Takbatore of the First Baptist Church, Garki, Abuja, his was on the need for Nigerians to embrace peace and unity in the face of the nation's many challenges.
My call to Nigerians is that the Prince of Peace has come. And as we celebrate Christmas this year, let's open our hearts. Let's open our systems to the Prince of Peace and allow the principles of Christ to permeate our systems, the principles of love for one another, the principles of care, the principles of sacrifice, the principles of selflessness, the principles of giving joy to the other person.
With all our challenges, difficulties, state of insecurity, political uncertainties, all these can be resolved with love, genuine love, one for another as citizens. When we begin to recognize that we are all creations of God, we are the same, we are equal, and we begin to tolerate each other and bear with one another. And at the political level, those God have entrusted in responsibility, do what is right for the citizenry. It will check the state of insecurity for an average citizen to be able to go about the activity. As Nigerians, we are productive people, we are hardworking people, but we need an enabling environment for people to be able to thrive in their ventures.
Members were seen in a celebratory spirit as they sang and praised God while observing COVID guidelines. There was a strict adherence to the use of face masks, hand washing, and maintaining social distance. Behind the festivities and merriment, millions of Nigerians are bearing the brunt of a harsh economic situation and inflation. Mrs. Bridget Bayo, a resident of Mpape in the FCT, says Christmas is no longer as merry as the inflation this year has caused untold hardship to many Nigerians.
It is not easy, to be honestly speaking. It is not easy at all. The cost of things this year is too high. I bought a bag of rice last year, that is Nigeria rice, as of last year. I bought it at the rate of 17,000. But this year now is 25,000 naira. That is Nigeria rice. Talk more or less of foreign rice and all the rest. Some of them are even 32, 27. This year, I did not even bother to buy clothes for my children. What I did was the one that they used before, that they only use only once, that is still new. I think I bought that one around April, just about a few months ago. I took them to the dry cleaner, they cut it for me, they wash it for me, iron it for me, spread it for me. Then their shoes, I think it is only their shoes. I bought some of them, it's not even all, because of things are too expensive. If I decide to spend all my money on new dress now, whereas the one that I have is only what they want it. After this week, if I'm not planning like after this week, after this week of celebration, the next week now, they will be demanding for their school fees.
Traders and buyers alike also complained of a low turnout in sales due to the high prices of commodities.
The buyers is there very far. Because like before we sell a liter of kerosene, let's say 300 last year, but this year is 500 because of what the price there for market.
Market is not moving like last year. Anybody calling you be crying that no money, no this, and that. If you can see goat, you can see goat everywhere, occupy everywhere because of the market. Which does last year is not happen like that. Last year everything finished. Even though before Christmas price increase, because if you can see that like this flour where I'm selling layers, I'm selling it before. If I cannot forget last year Christmas I sent 2005, but even this year now I myself I am brought each one 2,800 naira from the country I buy it. If somebody come I pay transport, some die. When I sell 3,000 naira is no gain. Goat where you are seeing goat now, this one last year you can buy this one 10,000, 11,000. Now this small goat will sell for you 20,000, 15,000, 18,000 naira.
Seriously, comparing to the last year, this year is more higher. Things are adding money every day by day. Like noodles now, like 2-3 weeks back, noodles was at the rate of 4,400, but now it's almost 4,900, getting to 5,000. They turn out now, everybody's complaining, there is no money.
Other Nigerians called for steadfastness and resilience as they explained that the situation is one which will definitely pass.
Whatever is the situation, we normally adjust, even though it may not be pleasurable. But it is like nature giving you a lemon and you making a lemonade out of it. So that is the situation of Nigeria. We are die-hard people. We succeed and we thrive. We thrive in any situation we find ourselves.
Nigeria has always faced challenges, and somehow God has always helped us and to take us through. And I believe that even at the present, the security challenges, other challenges, economic challenges that we are facing, I believe strongly that at the end of the day, the Lord will pull us through. We're resilient people. We're people of hope. We are people who never give up. And so we know that at the end of the day, there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel. I encourage every Nigerian, Christian or Muslim, never to give up. Don't give up on government. Don't give up on God. Don't give up on yourself. Keep holding forth and do what is right. Like it's always said that change begins with me. Until you get it right, the nation will not get it right.
Sagir Ibrahim reporting for Trust TV.
Well, there you have it. I mean, celebrating Christmas amidst, inflation and high cost of things in the market is really not funny. If you want to know, more about that, maybe you should visit the markets. There are people that actually do not go to the market, and unfortunately, most of them are the policymakers and the people highly placed up there.
So they don't really know how it feels like. They really do not have a picture of what is really going on in our markets. But hey, when people complain, they are not just nagging or being complainants. They are feeling it.
Yes, they are not just faking. I mean, it's true. Because some of us do still have reasons to go to the market. And so we know that it's really, really, really very tough, especially during seasons like this. And, that also brings me to another issue. I think that Nigerians need to learn to be human more in times like this, because people tend to take advantage, of situations. Usually during festivities like this, there's high demand. And so for some reason, Nigerians begin to take advantage of that to extort. That's talking about people doing business and all of that. I think we should stop that. In seasons like this, I mean, we should...
Let's make life more affordable,
more affordable,
for people.
More easy for people. I mean, let's be the, faithful Christians and Muslims that we say that we are.
That we are known for all over the world.
So instead of making life more difficult for fellow Nigerians, you should do the other way. I'm saying that specifically because a lot of people have said, look, we're not able to afford the simple things, that we'll normally be able to, because of, the high cost of things in the market. Now, before we end the show, we want to draw your attention to something also very, very important that we seem to take for granted in recent times. That is talking about COVID-19. Let's take the numbers and see.
Okay, now Nigeria recorded on the 26th of December 2021 about 1,547 new confirmed cases and 8 deaths were recorded in Nigeria. And now the 1,547 new cases are reported from 10 states. That's the FCT 806, Lagos 401, Borno State 166, Oyo 78, Ogun 47, Osun 30, Ekiti 7, Katsina 7, Kano 4, and Jigawa 1 case.
So it's very important to note that COVID is still here with us. In fact, the Omicron variant, we have 45 cases here in Nigeria now. So, and that's something to be careful about as we go about, celebrating the Yuletide season here in Nigeria. Well, with that, we've come to the end of the show for today. Do well to follow us across our social media handles and also subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can, follow up and always get the updates on news and current affairs and happenings around Nigeria. Well, my name is Ayuba Ilya, and before we end the show, we'll be taking a report, from Gombe State. Well, that's for me. Bye for now.
All right, bye. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
This is a 13-year-old Abdullahi Haruna, a primary 5 pupil of Kagarawal Primary School, Gombe, who works at a quarry site located in the outskirts of Gombe metropolis from the eastern part of the city. Schools are on holiday, and the youngest quarry worker here spends most of his time working to get some money. I used to work for my boss. I do some savings and sometimes give my mother to keep for me. When the money accrued, I bought a bicycle. Abdullahi, who aspires to be a medical doctor, said he wants to put more effort in the quarry work to support his education. I want to put more effort to become a medical doctor and help people. Other senior workers said the business has been a source of sustaining their families for years. With this work, I married 2 wives, have a ride and a house, but my educational qualification is secondary school. I have no occupation rather than this work. Thanks to Allah, now I am building my house. There are hundreds of quarry workers in various locations in Gombe who depend on the work to fend for their families and help generate revenue for the government. This work helps me a lot. I used to buy stationery for my studies. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail for Trust TV.
The board and management of Media Trust Limited invites the general public to its annual Daily Trust Dialogue, themed 2023, The Politics, Economy and Insecurity. Date, 20th January 2022. Location, NAF Conference Center and Suites, Abuja. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Chairman of the occasion, former Head of State, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, GCFR. Guest Speaker, Governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai. Guest Speaker, Governor of Ebonyi State, Engineer David Umahi. Guest Speaker, former Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mrs. Ifueko Omoigui Okauru. Moderator, Executive Director, Daria Media Nigeria Limited, Kadaria Ahmed. The event will be transmitted live on Trust TV, and all participants must observe COVID-19 protocols and wear their face masks.